Serious, what is a safety tip everyone should know? When there's a death in your family, do not leave the person's home and belongings unattended during the funeral, especially if it's been posted in the paper. My family experienced 2 robberies during funerals before we learned our lesson. My aunt's jewelry was never recovered. I know it seems like something out of a bad movie, but it's happened more than a few times in the real world. Now we always ask someone to sit at the house while the funeral is taking place, and I've sat for friends while they buried their loved ones too. My husband's nan and granddad's house was in a bad fire where they had to move out. This was in the paper stating the road it was on. They had 2 robberies. Jewelry presents grandchildren, money all gone. They threw the dog's ashes everywhere. They weren't allowed to collect these items due to the house being unsafe. Second robbery was stealing copper or some kind of expensive material. Be careful guys. Fuck that, I Waldo went in and got my shit after it was put out. No way in hell I'm leaving money and a bunch of shit in an open house. Clean the lint out of your dryer. If you don't, it will set your house on fire. We have to have the 2B bit that's supposed to take the lint. The dryer's lint trap doesn't catch cleaned out professionally a few times a year. Our house was designed by drunken monkeys high on crack, and so the 2B bit is impossible to access from pretty much anywhere but the roof. D. Things I learned in self-defense and survival classes. If possible, don't ever fight against a knife, you will get cut and probably will lose. Learn to make a fire through primitive means. Never eat a wild plant without seeing an expert doing it first, even if you have a book or other aid. Panicking is the leading cause of death in an emergency. Just remember, stay calm. You can figure this out. Charge a gun. Run from a knife. If you absolutely have to engage with a knife-wielding opponent, wrap something. Anything that's available around one forearm and use it to deflect the blade. Try to gain leverage on your opponent's wrist and break their grip at its weakest point, the thumb. If you're ever attacked/abducted, do everything you can to not go to a second location. Scream, kick, bite, whatever possible. Nothing good happens at the second location. Street smarts. I'm not the only one who loves that John Mulaney skit. Good to see. If you are alone and start choking, do a self-image. Make a fist with one hand and put the thumb side between your belly button and rib cage. Place your other hand on top of that. Push as hard as you can in a quick motion straight into your abdomen. If that doesn't work, use a chair. Keep your hands in the same position as with the Heimlich maneuver, but lean your torso over the back of a chair. I have done the chair thing to X on myself. You should probably start chewing your food a bit more. If a gator bites you, clog its nostrils with your thumbs. It will need to open its mouth to breathe. When its mouth opens, get out of its mouth and run. I don't know if that would ever be useful, but I'll keep this in mind. Oh, it's just a tip for Florida kids. When cooking, always turn the handles of your pots and pans to the side so that they do not reach over the edge of the stove. You only need to knock a pan with boiling hot oil over once to realize how much easier you live would have been if you looked out for this, and don't leave the handles over another burner. You will learn that one fast enough. Always keep track of where the exit is. Whenever I fly, I count how many rows there are between me and the exits in front and behind. I doubt I would remember the information in case of emergency, but it makes me feel good to be on top of things. Same. Also, on board ships, keep track of turn, right or left outside cabin. The map is useless in an emergency situation. I usually always keep a small torch in my bag. A falling knife has no handle. Same with falling soldering irons. Ask me how I know. How do you know? Something I recently learned. Don't take off at an intersection the moment the light turns green, just in case someone's about to run a red light. As a Zambian, this is especially true. There will always be that one guy that will try to squeeze in after their light turns red. As a Texan, this is especially true because people drive like their butts are on fire for the most part. Never get in the car. It reminds me of this story where these guys were robbing a bank and instructed a young woman to come with them. She said no and sat down on the ground. They were thrown off by her refusal and left. I think I remember she said, if you're going to kill me just do it here. My mom won't have to wonder what happened to me. It's also very hard to pick up anyone bigger than a toddler off the ground if they are fighting you. If a support animal comes up to you without a human, follow them. It means a human is down and needs help. I once followed a dog that was very obviously trying to get my attention and wanted me to follow. She would walk a few feet and then turn around and wait for me. I followed her to a dock and fully expected to find a dead or incapacitated person in the water needing help. She picked up the most ridiculously large stick I've ever seen a dog carry and wanted to play fetch. I was mildly annoyed because I followed her quite a ways, happy not to be faced with a dead or dying person, and delighted that the doggy wanted to play with me all at the same time. If you get a flat on the highway, pull way off the road to change it. If possible, get away from traffic altogether. Pull into a parking lot or driveway. About once a month, a driver in the US gets run over and killed while changing a flat tire. Driving slowly on a flat tire isn't especially dangerous. It might bend your rim, which sucks, but nobody ever died of a bent rim. You can also pull into the grass to avoid bending the rim. When you're in mainland Europe, don't look the wrong way when you're crossing the road. I nearly learned this the hard way twice. In Spain and Germany, I'd expand on this to say always look both ways, even crossing a one-way street. Yup, even getting hit by a bicycle would suck. Steel-toed shoes have saved me countless times. Steel-toed boots once broke my friend's arm. See? Saved you! Exclamation mark. When you stop to wait in a turning lane where you have to cross oncoming traffic, keep your wheels straight. If you get hit from behind and have your wheels turned in, you'll get shoved/steered into the oncoming traffic lane. If they are pointing straight ahead, you'll just go forward. I got hit like this once, as you said, with wheels turned. Got shoved right into the lane. Luckily there was no incoming traffic. If something feels wrong, it probably is wrong. We are very perceptive, and gut feelings shouldn't be ignored. Except those of us with anxiety problems. Something always feels wrong. Well, looks around and gestures broadly. If you do something on your or someone else's electric, don't just trust on a switched off circuit breaker. They can fail, or the wiring can be done wrong. There might be a 1 in 100 chance of this actually happening, but you shouldn't put your life on this chance. Simple phase checkers are cheap, and using them takes a few seconds. Edit. Also, while we are on this topic, check your ground fault breaker every now and then. No. If you are not a licensed electrician, don't put your life at risk, because 9/10 times that guy on YouTube won't be able to tell you how your house is wired. You pay a professional because they know the risks/controls. Here's a small list of things that can go wrong if you mess with your own electrics. Electrical shock from direct contact with exposed conductors. Electrical shock from indirect contact. Electrocution. Death. Fire. Damage to property. You never know what person has messed with your electrical system before you. Those simple phase checkers are called death sticks in our trade. Never, ever rely on them. They are cheap for a reason. If you really, truly don't want to pay a professional and are adamant on doing it yourself, turn the power off to the whole house. Cross neutrals. Damaged cabling and poor connections will kill you. Source: I'm electrician. Edit: the fail rate for ground fault protection, GFCI/RCD, is 7-10%. Don't take that chance. Don't mix ammonia and bleach. It makes a deadly gas like mustard gas. Neither mix bleach and rubbing alcohol. It makes chloroform, or bleach and vinegar, which makes chlorine gas. These two and the ammonia and bleach are the more commonly mixed fatalities with bleach. Just don't mix bleach with anything except water. Never mess with your garage door spring. Call a professional. I've successfully replaced 2 of them, but they do scare the shit out of me. If you ever need to call 911, give the address or location first in case you are disconnected. If you're kidnapped and put into the trunk/boot of a car, feel around everywhere you can to try and find the emergency trunk latch. Most cars have those nowadays. Another tactic is to try and kick the tail light out from the inside. If you can break through the tail light, stick your hand through and wave at the people behind you. If another car is driving erratically, give them as much space as you can. You can't control other drivers, but you can control yourself. Don't touch knives to test their sharpness. COVID-19 is real. If you ever need to call 911, give the address or location first in case you are disconnected. Where I live, the first question they ask when you dial 911 is the address. I know because my job has had me call 911 about 4 times in the last few months. What do you do that you had to call so many times? For anyone caught in a rip, don't panic, go with the flow. If you're being dragged out, if you can swim sideways, not toward shore, as this is the fastest way to become exhausted. If multiple people are caught with you in the rip and help arrives, always tell them who is the weakest swimmer. This can save their life from drowning. Also, learn what a riptide looks like and avoid them. A lot of swimmers go straight for them as it looks like the calmest part of the water, and then they are in trouble. In kitchen fires, never pour water on burning oil fires. The water is heavier than the oil. It will sink to the bottom and immediately explode into steam when it hit the hot metal bottom, spewing the boiling oil all over the kitchen. Instead, suffocate the flame by covering the pot or pan, preferably with a lid, but a damp towel can also work in a pinch. Either that or pour baking soda on it if there is not a fire extinguisher handy. ABC dry chemical fire extinguishers are worth their weight in gold. If there is a fire, it'll make a mess, but it can be vacuumed up. Source: Fire Academy. Edit: to clarify, since I guess it needs to be stated, the baking soda needs to still be a powder. If it is a solid congealed mass, probably don't tuck that into a grease fire. Baking soda could be dangerous. If it's been in the fridge for months, it's now a solid block and will splatter oil everywhere. Always pee after sex. Lock your car doors as soon as you get in the vehicle, and always look inside before entering your car. An acquaintance told me a story of how she got into her car and drove to the gas station. In my country there are clerks that do everything for you and charge you without you leaving your vehicle. She wanted to pay with a credit card and the person told them that the card was rejected, but maybe going inside the store could help. The clerk called one of his colleagues and brought her into the store. Then they asked her if she knew the man hiding in the back of her car. Apparently someone sneaked into it and she hadn't noticed. The guy ran away before they could do anything about it. If she hadn't stopped for gas, or if the clerk hadn't had a gut feeling, something terrible would have happened to her. Always assume a firearm is loaded, even if you check and it's not. This means always point the barrel in a safe direction, and only point it at things you would be willing to shoot on the off chance it goes off. And always keep your finger off the trigger till you're ready to shoot. Again, even if you know it's not loaded. My mother had a high school friend who accidentally shot himself while cleaning his pistol. He would probably still be alive if he followed these rules. As my dad always said, don't point at anything you aren't willing to shoot, and don't shoot at anything you aren't willing to kill. Never put your feet up on the dashboard in the car passenger seat, because if the airbag opens you will break both of your legs and launch your knees at 300 miles per hour into your face. Don't ride with the seat back down either. Seat belts are not made to hold you in place in a horizontal position. And for God's sake, stop sticking limbs out the windows. It only takes a moment for someone to sideswipe you and you've lost an appendage. I cringe when I see dogs hanging out windows. Mainly if you're somewhere you don't know. Keep 20 under your foot in your sock. If you are ever mugged/attacked, you can use it for a taxi to somewhere safe. Also, if you're lost, ask the postman if they're about. Should know every road in a lot of detail. Edit: spelling. CPR and Heimlich maneuver saves lives. Learn them. This is so true. My dad actually saved a life because he knew the Heimlich. We were in Disneyland Paris and this man was choking on his food, and me and my stepbrother were coming back from getting dinner, and my stepmom kinda brought us back for more food and brought us back once it was clear, which is when we were told the story. The guy was there with his 5-year-old, 8-year-old and his wife. We were brought away because it wolves scared us despite us being 15 and 17. The two kids were crying their eyes out and looked just so distraught. A lot of internet self-defense classes are wrong or are misinforming at best. Please seek professionals or people with actual training. Never bunch yakis in your hand. More likely to damage your hands. The bottom of a closed fist in a throat is a much better avenue. Or nails. If yak can help it, never let them put cable ties on you. While a lot of classes claim to teach you to break out of them, I can assure you won't break out of even basic construction ties you can get most places. Go for the throat and the eyes and the balls. If they're a man and run and make noise, don't worry about hurting them. Put them out proper. If you have to, keep your chin tucked in. If you're in a choker, hold, but also clench your jaw and push your tongue to your teeth. Help stop your jaw breaking or moving away. If your country lets you, carry mace in a pocket or a bra. Don't keep it in a bag if you can help it. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.